Welcome back to the channel, folks. This is Jason, certified financial planner and host of Fighting Words Financial, coming at you today with a short video. First thing I'd like to say is happy Thanksgiving to all of my American subscribers and the Canadian subscribers. I know you guys have a Thanksgiving, I just can't remember when it is. But if you are an international subscriber, I still hope that you have a nice and safe weekend with your family and your loved ones. Anyway, today I want to talk to you just briefly about what's going on in the EV market around the world and what's going on kind of with what I see right now as a little bit of a bubble in green technologies. A bubble that is justified when you start taking in all of the information and all the data that's coming in and the kind of unique position we find ourselves in history. We are really looking at a disruption in old legacy industries unlike anything we've probably seen since the Industrial Revolution. I want to be on the right side of that. I hope you want to be on the right side of that. But let's talk about that just for a moment, because the stocks that we all follow, Xpeng, Nio, Tesla, Li Auto, everyone else in the sort of EV space, those have all gone crazy over the last couple of weeks, especially Nio and really Xpeng. I know I did a video on Xpeng after it already doubled in price, and then it doubled again from there. That was just luck, folks. Of course, it's not like any extraordinary skill on my part. But what I did want to say is a pullback at this point is probably going to be a little bit natural. You've seen this just unbelievable, mind-boggling run-up in prices. And I think that a little bit of a pullback and profit taking is a little bit natural at this point. I think I've told you guys before, I'm a long-term holder of stocks. I don't generally do any short-term selling. I did sell out some of my Nio, or at least I'm in the process of selling out some of my Nio position, only because that position has grown so much that it's become a huge portion of my overall net worth, much larger than I'm comfortable having in any one company. So I'm reducing that position and spreading it out to a couple of other different EV companies and green technologies. But the other thing I want to say is, look, the companies involved here, especially Xpeng, Nio, and Li, they are not going to let this run up in stock go to waste. Now, we don't have a lot going on right now in the news cycle for either of these companies, for any of these Chinese electric vehicle companies, until we have Nio Day on January 9th, where I fully expect them to announce, their ET7 and probably at least one other model and something else that's groundbreaking and awesome, right? Because that's what they're doing at this point. They need to address a couple of issues regarding how much control they have over their manufacturing process. I absolutely don't think that they're going to let this run up in their stock price go to waste. I think that we can all expect sometime here in the very near future liquidity events for all three of these companies, Li, Xpeng, and Nio, meaning they're going to do a secondary offering or they're going to have an issue of some convertible bonds in order to raise money. And let me tell you why. As soon as 2022, maybe even by the end of 2021, the demand for electric vehicles and the production of electric vehicles is actually going to outstrip the supply of batteries, even in China, where almost all of the big battery makers are located. At least 2 out of the 4 big battery makers are located. All that's going to be stripped away, meaning that we're going to have a battery shortage by the end of 2021, and the companies that make electric vehicles are going to have trouble delivering on those electric vehicles as soon as the end of 2021, but almost certainly by 2022, unless something is done. So what I'm and I don't like to make predictions, but I'm making a prediction here. I'm predicting that they're probably going to make, have some secondary sale of stock or some issue of convertible bonds in order to raise money to invest in battery production. Now, in the case of Xpeng and Nio, I think that they're probably going to end up investing in a joint venture with an existing battery maker, like Nio's already doing with their battery asset company. I think that company is probably going to get an injection of cash from Nio in order to fund and scale operations. Xpeng, not sure what they're going to do, but they source all of their batteries from the same players that Tesla does, and Tesla takes up a vast majority of that production space right now, or at least a plurality of that production space right now. But BYD produces all of their own batteries. Nio, Xpeng, Tesla, and every other EV maker is dependent on LG Chem, CATL, and a couple of other players like Panasonic. But those guys are already stretched to their limits. Those guys are already expanding as rapidly as they can. So I really think that we're going to see new investments in battery production. It's going to come from the EV makers because they don't really have a choice. If they want to keep delivering their cars, they're going to have to do that. I wouldn't be too concerned about this at this point, and let me tell you why. I was looking at the numbers, just running the numbers for Nio and running the numbers for for Xpeng. They can both issue about, like, Nio could issue 50 million shares at $50 a share, raise $2.5 billion, and that's a 3.5% dilution of your overall ownership stake. It's perfectly acceptable. We already did a 6% dilution earlier this year, like 5.5%, 6% dilution earlier this year. It was kind of under the radar, and maybe you didn't know what happened, but it did. And that's including some of the convertible securities that converted at a really low price earlier this year. I fully expect Xpeng to do the same thing. They're going to be able to raise just as much money. It's going to be a little bit, because they actually have a smaller outstanding float out there, it's going to be a little bit more dilution when they do it. But they can raise just as much money by selling a little bit less in the way of stock, because their stock price is a little bit higher, and they're going to be able to reinvest this in building new factories or new battery production factories, either one. But I think that has to happen. You look at Tesla right now; they're competing against Tesla, really, not against each other. Tesla out there is building 3 factories as we speak right now. Or at least ramping up 3 factories as we speak: Berlin, Texas, Shanghai. This is all happening right now as we speak. If those guys want to compete and want to grab market share, then they got to put their money where their mouth is and start building out their production capabilities, particularly with Nio. Nio's balance sheet really is the worst out of all of these players. I mean, you only have about $8 billion of shareholder equity for the entire company. Divided that, that per share equity is actually really, really low. So they need this liquidity event to shore up their balance sheet and to invest in production capacity of some sort, and it's probably going to be that battery asset company. Anyway, folks, these are just my thoughts. And this is one of the videos that I did that was completely unscripted and off the cuff. This is not something I normally do. I think you guys noticed by now that I'm not natural on camera, so I definitely have a script or at least notes to read off. One of the only times that I did this completely off the cuff. You guys can feel free to tell me exactly how wrong you think I am in the comments below. Tell me that everything's going to crash or whatever. I don't believe that, but I do think there's going to be a little bit of downward pressure here in the next couple of months after Nio Day. And I want to encourage you guys that if you're long, to stay long. If you're a short-term trader, I have no advice for you, because that's not what I do. And anyway, folks, tell me how wrong you think I am in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.